How's everybody doing? All right. I want to be respectful of your time, so I'm going to get started. Um, Couple of things as we're getting started. First, um, this is being recorded. I I will be sending this out. I understand that people got practice, and so not everybody can be here that necessarily would like to be here or that needs to hear some of the stuff that we're talking about. So the video from this will be posted on our YouTube channel. Um, I will also send out links for this in the newsletters that you've been receiving from us at VolleyStation. So that you will be able to access this and send it out to others, etc. Um, I do want to make sure that we're straight on what I'm going to be talking about. Um, this is not a how-to about how to use VolleyStation Streamer. That is not what I'm doing today. I've got videos and videos on our YouTube channel and articles on our blog that are designed to do that. And I am happy to support you as you're going through your own little setup quirks, etc. I'm happy to help you work through those. But this is not the conversation for that. I will uh, I will remind you of blog.volleystation.com. I've got two articles that are written there, one with commonly encountered issues, another one about getting started with VolleyStation Streamer. I will send out links to these again, but both of these are available every time you open up VS Pro or VS Online. They are available on the home page for in both of those applications. Last thing is I have a VolleyStation Streamer setup examples or setup samples playlist on our YouTube channel. So if you go searching for VolleyStation YouTube, you will find this channel and you can find this playlist. This has some examples of just simple setups, how to use a capture device. I've got a couple of videos that I shot last week or the week before um, with Joe Skinner down at the OPTC, just showing some quick demonstrations of what setups can look like with a camcorder, with a streamer, or excuse me, with an iPhone. So if you're looking for more of the how-to, then that is where I'm pointing you to go. So for today, what I want to get into is what is video on the bench? What is it that we are about to get ourselves into in this coming season and hopefully going forward into future seasons? I want to start with this idea. Jonathan Kennedy famously said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And when it comes to video instead of your country, what I think a lot of people are coming at this the way that Kennedy phrased it. And from my perspective, that's backwards. Rather than asking what we should be doing for video or with video, we should be remembering what we're here to do. We're here to coach. We're here to develop. We're here to develop athletes and people, and we are here to win matches. We are not here to become a control center and to have our faces glued to screens. We got enough of that in our lives already. So, what do I think we should be doing with video on the bench? We should be asking not what you can do for video, you should be asking what can video do for you? And I think that that change in perspective is really important because that change in perspective is going to have us looking for specific applications for video that are going to help us rather than just looking at video as a concept and trying to figure out what the heck we're supposed to do with it. The answer to what the heck we're supposed to do with it is we're supposed to coach and find a way that it fits into our coaching. And so that means that we don't have to do it this way. We don't have to be Veruca Salt. We don't have to want all the video, all the camera angles, everything all at once. Because if we do that, this is what we're going to end up looking like. And I'll remind you again, this is what you want to be. You want to be dialed into the match that's happening in front of you, not removing yourself from it and trying to watch it through video. So then how do we use video? We use it to supplement the coaching that we want to do. And so I think you should be asking yourself some questions like, what kinds of coaching do I want to do better? And finding ways that maybe video can be incorporated into the things that I want to do better. Not video is going to make me better, but what is it that I'm trying to do better? And then looking for how can video help me do that better? What kinds of coaching do I want to do more of? I've talked with coaches that have said that video is a great tool for them with a limited number of staff members because it serves as an extra set of eyes for them, where all of a sudden the players that keep asking, did you see me? Did you see me do this? Did you see that rep? With video, the answer can now be yes, even if it isn't yes in the moment. We can use video then to go back and look because, hey, I was focused on player A when player B is asking me for feedback from that last rally. Okay, player B, I can get you that feedback. Let me go back to my video, then I'll come and talk to you. But this is a way where we aren't forcing ourselves to see everything all at once. We are allowing ourselves to respond to coaching situations, coaching challenges, coaching questions. Ask yourself, how do I use video in practice already? How do I use video in scouting already? Video to the bench during matches, to me, gives us an opportunity to do things with video that we already like doing in practice or in scouting. What kind of video montages do we like to show to players in preparation? How can we replicate those live during play? If we like to show side out formations, how can we be tagging those plays during play so that we can show them maybe during a timeout or in between sets? That would be an example of how do I use video in ways that I already am. So that way, video is becoming a coaching tool rather than a demand for a way for us to change our coaching. So if we ask ourselves those questions and we have some good directions, some good ideas, then we can ask ourselves, how can video help me do those things? That way we're not just looking at video wondering how it's going to change our lives. We're looking at video saying, this is the specific area where I want video to help me. That's how we're going to use video most effectively. And then what's the minimum I need from the video? Again, you don't have to have a million screens with 4 million camera views. You also don't need to just have all of the video replay angles. You don't. The only reason for you to have those is if they augment your coaching in some way. Otherwise, it's just extra information, and extra information just becomes noise that gets between you and the coaching that you're trying to do. To that end, with all of the replay video angles, etc., I want you one thing I want you to take away from this is that video is not a competitive advantage. And I think it's important that I lay out what it is that I mean by that. One of the things that is really important here is that currently video to the bench is an experimental rule. And that means it can be gone after this year. So if you really want video on the bench and you want it for years going forward, then you need to be careful about how you portray video on the bench being used. If you treat it as a competitive advantage, if you treat it as something that I have and is going to help me and something that you don't have, and so therefore it's helping me and not helping you, you are not going to get the support of everybody you need in order to have this pass to become a permanent rule. All the mid-major programs that make up the bulk of what happens across the country, they need to understand, you need to understand that the video you can use can be easy to implement, can be incredibly effective as a coaching tool, and it can be those things without costing you a lot of money or a lot of time. It needs to be seen as a coaching tool, and in my opinion, that's what it is. It's not my opportunity to start a fight with referees about what was seen in the video replay. It's an opportunity to coach players and teams better. If we approach it that way and we make it appear that it is something that everybody can do authentically to the way that they already want to coach, then that gives us the opportunity to have people who don't have the same resources be on board with this. And you're going to need people who don't want to use it to be on board with this. Otherwise, this will be experimental, and then eventually it'll go away because we're not going to be able to get the support that we need in order to pass it. So this is why I think it's really important that we recognize that video is going to be a coaching tool. Video is going to be something that is going to help us do our jobs better rather than doing our jobs for us or creating some sort of advantage that we have and that others don't. It's going to help you do your job better, just like a clipboard helps you do your job better, or a dry erase board and colored markers helps you do your job better. These things aren't competitive advantages. Nobody is going to try and take away your right to draw stuff on a court diagram. Video is an opportunity, a very fancy way to draw stuff on a court diagram. So let's use it that way. Let's present it that way. Let's share it that way, because that's what's going to help people be on board with this. That's what's going to help us get the adoption that we need for this to be permanent. That's what's going to help coaches actually use this year after year after year. That's how we're going to grow video in the sport, and that's how we're going to grow the sport, is by helping everybody see that this is about coaching much more so than it is about anything else. I say that because I believe that the video doesn't know what's supposed to happen. It doesn't know what players are supposed to do. It doesn't know what the offense is supposed to do. It doesn't know what the defense is supposed to look like, any of that. The video requires your interpretation of what your team does, your interpretation of what your opponent is trying to do, your interpretation of what the player did on a previous rally. The video doesn't know this by itself. And that's why it's a coaching tool, because it needs your application, it needs your focus in order to fulfill its purpose. You know what is supposed to happen. You know what things are supposed to look like. And it's your job to be able to communicate that information to coaches, to players, to stakeholders. And so video then is a tool to help you tell the stories you need to tell. Video is used to highlight the points that you need to highlight to tell your stories. It is not going to do the work for you. It needs your direction, it needs your focus, it needs your attention. That's how video is going to function. And to that end, video should be simple. Video should be simple so that you can incorporate it into the coaching that you already do and into the coaching that you want to do. To reinforce that point, remember that the NCAA said that you can have video on the bench. That's it. They didn't make any other rules about this. That'll come later if this needs to be codified into something permanent. Right now, it just said you can have video to the bench. It didn't say it had to be live. It didn't say where it had to come from, what it needed to look like. It didn't specify who had to have it or who didn't. All they said was you can have video on the bench. That's it. So that gives you a very, very broad way of being able to look at video. So it doesn't have to be video that goes through VolleyStation Streamer and then into VolleyStation Pro that is then searched for in video analysis so that you can look at every single perfect reception that started in where the serve started in zone 5 and ended in zone 5. It doesn't have to be that. It can be simple. It probably should be simple because that's what's going to allow us to be able to incorporate it into what we do more easily. We already feel like we don't have enough time in between points, in between sets, in between matches. So let's not make it complex. Let's not make it complicated because we're already trying to keep things simple. So let's make sure that video, when we start using it, that we start using it in simple ways, because that's what's going to allow us to incorporate it better and use it more wisely, use it more effectively. So I don't see any reason why you couldn't have pre-made video montages on an iPad that you can be watching, those scouting montages that I mentioned earlier. There's no reason why you couldn't have those on an iPad, on a computer, something like that, so you can refer back to them. The way the rules are currently written, there's no video, period. Not any live video, not any archive video, no video, period. So why not have these video montages that you've made and exported for scouting, or that you've made and exported to show to players for their own development? Why not have those available on the bench? You can do that on any device you want. You can do it on a tablet. You can do it on a phone. You can do it on a computer. But that's a simple thing that you can do that doesn't require any fancy tech beyond something that you're already doing, exporting video and sharing it with people. You can have two devices connected via a video phone call. This is something that Jamie Morrison repeated often as he was lobbying for this and as he's been trying to publicize this and talk about it. It's as simple as, hey, have one iPhone in the end zone and it's FaceTiming to somebody on the bench. It can be that simple. That can be live video, and it doesn't have to be complex. The question still remains, what are you going to do with it when you get it? To me, one of the questions you'd be asking on that is, what's happening on your side of the court? I talked to a Power 4 coach last week and was saying, what are you thinking about using video for? And he said, look, I like to stand up by the attack line. I can't see what's happening back in the back third of the court very well. If I want to know where my defensive players are standing when the ball's being set or when the ball's being attacked, I can't see that very well. But if I had an iPad that could show me that, just video on delay, again, you don't need VolleyStation for that. You can have an iPad screen mirroring to another iPad that is just bust a move, video delay. That's simple. It's a $5 setup. You can capture video with a device on the bench and analyze it. Put an iPad on a tripod at the end of your bench. Have that running on a delay or be capturing video with that. You can use that without having to connect to anything else. And you can be analyzing those different plays afterwards or during play. It can be very simple. But again, all of these things work in service of questions that you're trying to answer as coaches or problems that you're encountering as a team that you need to work out solutions for. So while the problems that you might have can vary widely, you can find simple solutions to give you the information that you're looking for, so that that coach up by the attack line can see what's happening at the end zone without having to change where they're standing. So if you want to use video, what do you want to use it for? What coaching goals are you trying to achieve? And how can the video help you achieve those goals? To meet the goals that you have, can you just have raw video? Or does that video need to be delayed a little bit? Does it need to be recorded so you can review it in detail at a timeout, in between sets, something like that? Those are things that can be established only once you have the idea of what is it that I need to make note of? What is it that I need to be able to notice that video can help me notice that I wouldn't be able to figure out without the video? We can make it more complicated. We can make it more complex. Do you want to use code with the video that you're capturing, like in VolleyStation Pro? Cool. That's great. The question still remains: to do what? Is that video going to be helpful attached to that code during the match? What problem is it that you have that can be solved by being able to filter for serves that start in zone 5, end in zone 5, and have perfect receptions? If that's a thing that you want to look for, what are you using it for once you have it? How detailed do you need that video to be? Can it just be, hey, I just need to know things, like I just need to be able to label a rally so that I can go back and review that rally in a minute, in 2 minutes? Those are different problems that can have different solutions. If the rally level is sufficient, then you can use the match view in bench mode in connected to VolleyStation Pro. But you don't need code. You just need to know when the points are ending, so that way you can go back and find the video for a particular rally that you're interested in. If you want to be very, very specific, then get another computer, make it a dual coding computer, connect to the primary coding computer, and then be able to search their code using the video stream so that you can see the video that you want to see on that specific contact level. But again, do that because you have a problem that you're trying to solve that needs contact level data to solve it. So then, what can video do for you? I've spent some time in the last few weeks talking to some of what we would think of as the best. Power 4 national championship winning coaches, professional techs, things like that. What was amazing to me was how simple their uses of video were going to be, or already are in the case of the pro coaches. They use it to help them coach players better. They use it to be able to, just like we would think about using it in a practice, to be able to look at video, freeze a play, and say, see where your left foot is? Where do you want your left foot to be at this moment? Okay, Let's go try that. And then we'll look at some video again the next time you sub out. The thing that I took away from these conversations is that video helps them do their job. It doesn't become their job. Managing video does not become the thing that they're doing, where they're just trying to figure out, how do I see everything I need to see on this tiny screen with all the video that's available? They keep it tight. They look at specific things. They don't try to look at all the things. What I'd like to do real quick, Virginia, I believe you're out here somewhere for me. Virginia and I have had multiple conversations about this. The most recent one, we were talking specifically about how she was adapting the information in the video she was providing based on who the different coaches were. And I think it's much better to hear her talk about that than to hear me talk about that. So, Virginia, if you're out there, please talk to us a little bit. Otherwise, I'm going to look silly for a minute. All right, she hasn't joined us yet. She told me she's going to be a little bit late. I'll try to come back to her if she appears. So something that's important that that Virginia told me about that I think is a really good lesson is that not everybody uses video. She has a coach that she works with on her staff that has been coaching forever and continues to chart everything by hand, because that's the way that he loves to be a coach. This is how he assimilates the information that he needs. And so he's not looking at video at all. He's not looking at stats that she's providing during play. He'll look at that stuff afterwards and see if it's matching up with the stuff that he's charting by hand. And we also talked about that those who do use it don't use it all the time, and they don't use it for everything. They use it when there is something that they need to review that maybe they missed, maybe something that they weren't focused on, or something that has become an issue as the match has unfolded, that they want to go back and see, how long has this thing been happening? Has it been happening the whole match? Because I don't remember. And so they know what they want from the video before they even look at a screen, rather than going to a screen and trying to figure out what coaching lesson they should be trying to pull out of it. And so that means that they don't let video keep them from being present. That was something that came across in all the conversations that I had about coaches wanting to be present in the match that was happening. They didn't want to get hung up staring at computers for very long because they were looking at video too much, or they were looking at stats too much, because it kept them from being present in the match as it was actually happening. And so now, with all of that as a way to think about things, now I'll come back very briefly to talk about, what does VolleyStation Streamer actually do? This is something that came up for me oftentimes in the conversations that I've had with many coaches and techs in the last couple of months, is this sort of fog around what VolleyStation Streamer actually does, as they tried to figure out what they were going to do with it. The answer is, it really doesn't do a lot. Recognize that VolleyStation Streamer was made as a solution for video to the bench in the international and professional world years ago. And so that means that it had to do a couple of things. It needed to create web-friendly video streams, because that made it much easier than trying to get a variety of streams. Like if you're out there trying to stream your IP camera into VolleyStation Streamer or something else, then you got to deal with RTSP or RTMP, things like that, and things get ugly really fast. The idea behind VolleyStation Streamer was give you a way to not have to worry about that once you got into VolleyStation Pro. Handle all of that stuff to get your stream ready ahead of time, and then it's not clogging up your view or your mind when you're in VolleyStation Pro coding. Because of that, it was designed to be used by an individual team with an individual camera. It was one view for one team, pretty much one person. What you would see if you went internationally, where they've been using this for a long time. Like I had the opportunity to travel to Asia this summer, and I talked to coaches there, and there is one person, might be an assistant coach, might be an analyst, who has an iPad that's being fed data and video, and then they are communicating that information to the coaches. But that's it. There's not computers everywhere. There's not screens everywhere. There's one person who acts as a filter to get out the information that's needed. So recognize that that's what VolleyStation was meant to do, or VolleyStation Streamer was meant to do. Create a stream, record that stream, make that stream available, period. By itself, it doesn't have any analysis features. It doesn't have any advanced playback tools. You're going to be able to start and stop the feed, move the playhead backwards and forwards, and that's pretty much it. You can open up that stream in a web browser and get the same stuff. No data, no nothing. That's it. And so because it's so simple, because it's so easy, because it doesn't do much on its own, we don't charge for it. It's just a little add-on that people can use if they want. And so something that I want you to be able to pass on to people that are not VolleyStation clients, they can have it too. We will happily give out VolleyStation Streamer downloads so that they can have this application, so that they can get web-friendly links that they can open up in a web browser without doing any analysis or anything like that. We're happy to do that because it's very important to us that we get as many people using video as we can, because that's something that's ultimately going to help us get video on the bench adopted permanently, is getting people using video and liking it and seeing how it helps their coaching. So just remember that. Please pass that information on. VolleyStation Streamer is not something special or something fancy. It doesn't take a lot to use it on its own, but it can provide you with a lot of access to video in a very simple form. And we think that's a good thing on its own, even if you don't want to bring it into VolleyStation Pro. So then what does VolleyStation do? And I don't mean VolleyStation Pro, I mean us as an organization, us as a company. VolleyStation is a volleyball specific tech company. Allowing video to the bench is part of what we do, and we think that it grows the game. And we want the game to grow, and we want analysis of the game to grow. We want insights from the game to grow and improve. And so for those reasons, we believe that video on the bench is good for volleyball. And so that means that we're going to do our best to help you understand what video on the bench can be. And video on the bench can be a lot of things that are not dual coding, filtering, video analysis, tagging plays, custom code. And we will help with those things too, because we care about the growth of volleyball, we care about the growth of analysis, and we care about those things happening here in the US. And this is how we do it. This is a super, super important piece of that puzzle, or a very, very important step in this journey. And so we recognize that we have an important role to play here, and we're going to do everything we can. Now, recognize, though, that, as I've explained, the actual products that we make are very limited in their focus. And we will fully support the functionality for those products as they've been designed. We at VolleyStation, not just me, but we at VolleyStation have been talking to different conference representatives, different individuals out there in the community, talking about like, well, how do we use VolleyStation Streamer so that we can get video to both benches, and all of these other things. And our response to that is like, well, you can, and here's how you could do it in theory. But this is making things so much more complex and gets outside of things that we are supposed to manage, things that are within our control. I can help you get VolleyStation Streamer functioning. I can help you get VolleyStation Pro functioning with a stream from VolleyStation Streamer. But all these other things, they start to get into areas that if we're going to do anything, we have to work in partnership with other groups, people from conferences, etc. And we are not going to be able to solve off-label uses of what we're doing. What I mean by off-label is like that example that I give, like where a conference wants every host institution to have one central device that is going to send the identical video feed to both teams, etc. Fine, cool, that's great. Go for it. That's much harder than it needs to be, and it's going to ultimately impede our ability to get more people to use this and to get this passed permanently in the future. So we are happy to have these conversations, happy to be able to explain to people what the limitations are and what the design of these products are. And we're happy to help you use them as much as we can. But our stance as a company is that simple is the way to go right now. Simple gets us more people using it, more people believing in it, more people voting for it. So if you want to have all the video all the time and you want it forever, start simple, speak simply, get people to see how they can do it and how it can benefit them without increasing their cost, without increasing the number of people it takes, without having to push against administrations. Okay. It's very difficult right now for women's volleyball to push for anything that's going to cost more people, more money. So we've got to be able to articulate simple, effective ways of using video. And again, at VolleyStation, we're part of that. We believe that we can be helpful here, but we also think it's very important that we're having these conversations in ways that are going to support the overall growth of this for volleyball across the NCAA and across the country. So I want to remind you that you are always welcome to contact me with questions, comments. Here's my email address, specifically regarding like how do we use it, how do we troubleshoot those setups, etc. Luke Maloney actually is on this call. I can see him. Hi, Luke. Thank you. Remember that Luke is the person who's primarily in charge of making sure that accounts and pro leagues all run smoothly. But if you already have a relationship with Luke and you want to contact Luke about this stuff, go for it. It's more important to us that you have people available to you and you feel that you can get what you need from us. That's more important to us than you feeling like you have to make sure that you contact the right email address. Otherwise, your email will just disappear into the void. So with that, I will remind you one more time that this is recorded. I'm going to send it out. And that there are playlists and articles on our blog about the actual how-tos on this, if that's stuff that you have some of your more pressing questions about. But with that, I want to open up for discussion, for comments, for questions from all of you about some of the topics that we've discussed here about what can video do for you and how can we bring technology to bear to help you coach better. So by all means, please ask away. You can put it in the chat or you can come off mute and ask your questions out in the open. And we will stay here as long as necessary to work through those. Thanks so much for your attention. Joe Skinner, I'll put you on the spot for a second because you and I talked about this recently. Talk a little bit. Again, I just want to reiterate here. Joe has great breadth of experience from coaching internationally to coaching collegiately to coaching club. Joe, talk a little bit about how you're viewing video, not just at A&M. Go ahead, turn your office lights back on. Not just at A&M, but how do you see video as being a helpful tool across the breadth of volleyball right now?
I mean, it's a huge, important tool. One, our athletes, our clientele, if you will, like they're so much more visual than they've probably ever been, and video is as visual as it gets. And so, being able to have a slight delay is going to be really important from the standpoint of being able to help your athletes. And again, like one of your slides, you kind of have the football coach. It's like when the middle comes off, maybe their footwork's messing them up. Like you can quickly show a clip and, help them before they go. The other cool thing with college timeouts is, they're like 5.5 minutes long. And so you have time to show a quick, hey, I noticed this when you're doing this. Like you said, your left foot wasn't where it needed to be. You can show a player that really fast, and maybe that like helps them, start playing better or just back into how they should be. So it's just some things like that. Also, that's some examples as your own team, but you can use it for scouting as well. And so, is so-and-so just the other outside, is she just bearing this, on a 4-to-4 shot? This is what that looks like. Maybe I can show a clip or two and my block can make the change, or my back row can make that adjustment. It is an amazing tool to use. For the coders that are in here, you want to push this through because it is an amazing standpoint of I can go back and clean during a break, or if I'm not showing video or something. So I would recommend pushing it or vouching for it as best we can.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
Luke, when you were at Ohio State on the men's side, how much were you using video on the bench?
We used it every match, aside from places that we couldn't set up. So there's a few facilities that just didn't have the capacity to do it, or we could do it and someone would hit it with hit a ball, and break our camera or our tripod, which happened a few times. But we would use it every match. We use it in practice all the time. But match-wise, you were saying earlier you don't want to get distracted by it. We had a couple coaches that were very reliant on it. And then one of the things that I was really that was really important to me was making sure that managers or players that were off were engaged in the match. And one of the ways I did that was giving them an iPad and having them tag the plays. For me, it was like I picked a color and tagged it based off of which zone the ball was killed from by the opponent, so that a middle could come off and see all the kills. They're getting beat by the middle on the other side. They can come off and look at all the green tagged plays, and they could see all those plays really quickly, and then have a better idea what that middle was doing against them quickly. So yeah, all the time. We cowboyed it. We made it work in all situations with no help from IT and no help from anybody else. So it's possible.
And I think that's one of the things that's important too, is recognizing that the simpler it is, the easier it is to maintain it. One of the things that we've talked about a lot internally is like, if the push is for there to be one central source of video coming from the host institution, nobody is talking about what are you going to do when it breaks? How is that going to be managed? There's so many questions that evolve or that appear around that. So what happens if it breaks to one bench and not to the other? What if it breaks for both benches? Are you going to stop play and try to fix it? Or is play going to continue? If play is going to continue, what are you going to do to make sure that it doesn't become perceived as a competitive advantage? Well, they have video, I don't have video, so they shouldn't have video. Again, I think this is positioning us to lose people from the cause of video to the bench. Because if it's going to slow things down, or if it's going to present a perceived competitive advantage, people aren't going to want to do it. Joe, just a second. One other thing on that point is that one of the reasons why we have not been able to get video to the bench during matches to this point is the officials. The officials are the ones, they didn't want to have any kind of video available, any archived video or live video, no video whatsoever, because they were going to be the ones responsible for policing this. And they said, that's out of our area of expertise. Do not make us do this. And so they were consistently against video on the bench. And so here's the thing, is that we're inviting that situation to happen exactly as what they foresaw. They're going to be put in the position of like, okay, well, now we have to stop the match, and now we have to adjudicate how we're going to proceed. They're not going to like that, and they're going to go right back to, see, we told you, we don't want video. This is where you being in charge of your own setup makes it simpler for managing for everybody, and makes it easier for us to get everybody on board, including the officials. They are going to be important to this. The way that matches flow is going to have an effect on how easy it is to get this adopted. Joe.
Sorry, the last thing I wanted to say with doing video and using it as a tool, like I would assign a coach to look at something specific, kind of similar to what Luke did with the managers. Like, it's really easy to just say, okay, now we have video on the bench, and you get so locked in and you're trying to look at everything. Like, most of our staffs nowadays have a set of responsibilities for what they do in match or what they look at. Like, I would have the same be for video, so then they're not being consumed by everything. I think that will help a lot. And yeah.
Thank you again. Appreciate it. Again, I leave it open for your questions, your thoughts. This was intended to also be a discussion. So this is very much from the outside looking in. Help us understand what some of your concerns are. What are some of the things that maybe you're concerned about in terms of being able to use video or not? What are some of the things that you're coming here looking for, and how can we as a community help support that?
I'll add, I think if you as a coaching staff think this is going to be used to get an advantage on replay, it's probably not going to happen. Like, unless you're setting up insanely fast cameras with an incredible latency, like it's just not going to work. Because I know that was also been a talk as well. They can look at video before they challenge. One, the challenge rules have changed, so that's not likely anyways. But this idea that I will know before, like, it shouldn't happen. And so I would just really emphasize that to your coaches. Like, these are inline still views. Like, these are not insane TV cameras being used.
And I think that's something interesting too to think about is I think a lot of people are coming into this with the idea that that video to the bench is going to be what video to the bench is in basketball. What we've seen where host institutions are required to provide iPads with the video replay feeds going into it. It's possible, but one, our challenge and our challenge rules are different than theirs. Two, the dynamic between head coaches and officials in basketball is different than what it is in volleyball. That's going to present some roadblocks. Three, the video feeds that they're getting are not easy to deal with. Those are television camera feeds. And so converting those is an issue. Now it's not just for your IT people, it's for your video production people. And if you don't have in-house video production people, now we're really escalating the amount of investment, both in terms of money and people that are going to be required to do this. Can the SEC do it? Sure. Can the Big Ten do it? Sure. I am not sure that anybody else really has the appetite for that right now. But that's what we're thinking about. That's the way people are viewing it is, I want all the replay views. It goes back to what I said before about this is a coaching tool. Consider what those camera views look like. Those camera views aren't super great for coaching most of the time. Those camera views are designed to help officials make calls, not to help coaches coach players. So yeah, you can have that, but how is it going to benefit your coaching? I think that's an important question to be considering. And again, if you don't have questions or thoughts, you're all, I'm finished presenting everything that I'm going to present. So you're more than welcome to log off. Again, thanks for attending. But again, happy to stay here and talk through anything that you might have. Yeah.
Luke, do you guys have any like recommendations? I think router capability is kind of like our biggest concern at this point. I mean, Luke, we did kind of like talk with Ohio State to figure out exactly what range it was, but if you guys have any recommendations with that, that might be good.
We don't have any specific hardware recommendations just because we're not really in a position to be able to test any hardware. When we are doing something like this, where we are sending video from end zone cameras to press row, like what we do in professional leagues or international play, Luke can tell you all too painfully how much Ethernet cable he has to run in order to make that happen. So we are doing as little wirelessly as possible, exactly to avoid the kind of issues that you're talking about, just in terms of the stability of the feed. So that's why, like, for us, again, we don't really have recommendations because we're not in a position to do any testing on that. And two is that in our own practices, we would rather and what we've been recommending to conferences that have asked us is mandate a place to set up a camera and enough Ethernet cable to reach from that position to the bench. So it's not really a great answer for you, Michael, but I think it gives a little bit more insight into how we're approaching it. I do think that for the most part, if your crowd is less than like 2,000 people, you're probably going to be okay with something reasonably that has a reasonably strong signal and a hidden network. Once you start getting beyond that, then I think you got to start looking at things that are much more complex. That's when, like, I know of some schools that because of the size of their crowds or the places they or the crowds they would expect for some of their matches, they went to their football stadium IT people and said, what kind of hardware are you using? So that might be a consideration for you. Instead of looking to us for those recommendations, is go to the people who outfitted your football stadium and ask them what they're using. That might be the best place or the best specific example I can give you.
Yeah, the one I have like a Nighthawk 7 right now that has been working pretty well. We're testing currently right now, actually, and it's up and working. So that one did cost about like 250. We've been trying to do this in the past, even in practice, with like a $30 to $50 router, and it just fails every single time. So that's my like recommendation for people is like, if you want this to be efficient, you kind of do have to get a good router.
Yeah. And the more people there are, the more water there is, the more it interferes with your signal. And also the more people there are, the more devices there are that are trying to connect to your network.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the things you got to think about for sure. And I say that broadly. Michael, I'm sure you're aware of that.
Yeah, we've had issues with that in the past, but I just wanted to say thanks, guys. Appreciate the help. We got this up and running, and yeah, I'll talk to you throughout season.
Yeah, of course. Always here for you. Thanks. Other comments, thoughts, questions?
Luke and Eduardo, it's been great. See you guys. Thank you.
Really. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate your input. Christian, you're welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jess. Good to see you. Sort of. And Sean and Chung are just talking to each other somewhere and haven't realized that they're the only ones left on the call.
Probably.
Ah, there we are. Of course, Sean. Thanks for being here. Sean, good to see you. Any other questions from the Bearcats?
No.
All right. You know where to find us, man. Whatever we can do to help.
Thanks.
Sure thing.
Good seeing you.
You too. Good luck.